Hey, everybody. Welcome to Unpopular Opinion.
Hi, Unpopular.
That's not the voice you do.
Hi, Unpopular.
That's not your voice. Why do you do this every time?
Me. Hi, ho. It's me.
Jeff May.
Hi.
Jeff May. He's my co-host, and I'm Adam Todd Brown. I'm his co-host. We're co-hosts.
We're Co's hoes.
Co's hosts.
Bam.
Boom.
Bam.
We're killing it. This is going really great.
Who's laughing over there? Introduce yourself.
Who's this man?
This is
Hey, who's the other guest?
Who's this guy?
One of our other guests.
My name is Ed Greer.
What's this guy?
I wandered in here. I smelled weed and comic books, so I came in here.
You smelled comic books here? Oh,
It
yeah.
was
that
Jeff's comic books and your
backpack.
weed.
Yeah.
Residue.
Yeah.
Comic book residue. Ed Greer, you've been on Listcast before, but you've never been on the main,
Listcast, Battlecast, or
this
whatever.
here
Was that
main podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, Listcast is the one you were on.
Bring it up to the majors, right? We were
And the
talking
live
about
show.
Major League. Yeah, the live show.
Yeah,
live
you
stream.
were at our live backyard comedy show.
That was really fun, by the way. I
was
expected
fantastic.
it to be, 10 minutes of hell, not for your audience or anything, but just being in the backyard, being hot or whatever. It was
Yeah.
so cool. The setup that you had was so cool. I think everybody enjoyed it, and they stayed for both shows.
Yeah.
People aren't going to leave when we're there. Come on now. Don't be stupid. What's this guy? This guy thinks he's
Dan Ewen, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm excited
More like,
to be
how
here.
are you, Ewan?
Oh, you.
No, that was bad.
How are
Yeah.
you doing?
How's you doing? I'm excited. It's my second time.
This is your second time.
How's Dan?
No,
Dan.
Jeff,
that didn't work.
why
No,
would you
Ewan.
do that?
Oh no.
Welcome to Chastise Radio.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, tell the people a little bit about what you do.
I'm a writer, producer guy. I'm currently on a Disney show called Walk the Prank on Disney XD. I'm available on the Twitter machine at @VaguelyFunnyDan, and I'm writing a bunch of other stuff and kicking about, spinning a bunch of plates and trying to make that shit happen before I die.
Very funny on Twitter.
On Thursday.
Thank you.
Very, very funny.
Before you die on
My
Thursday.
ship will come in on Thursday. I've been assured. I'm very excited for Thursday.
You are very funny on the Twitter.
Thanks. I don't know.
Now you say that about us.
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah, you guys are
say what
crushing
ways
it.
we're pretty
Can't-
funny,
that
too.
coming from you guys.
Do you follow at
Yeah.
Hilarious. I
That
do.
coming from
I
you
do.
guys.
I follow Ed.
Yeah. Who
Ed
doesn't?
Greer is legit, and I love the stand-up clips. I looked at to brush up on who Ed Greer is.
Wow, you did
Oh
that?
my God!
What,
It's like
the
a first
research?
date.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you
I
so
did.
much.
I want to know. Like,
First
know
time I
you
saw Ed
guys.
do stand-up was when we did a show together.
after
Oh,
I
yeah.
booked him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's all in the room.
Yeah.
Circle of life.
From the day we arrive at the
Go on.
comedy show.
Oh, that was good. Jeff, you're here. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah, tell me about how your week's been.
We went to
Hey,
yesterday.
hit it, Brett. The hardest part of the show for me is the first few minutes.
It's hurtful because I think you care.
Because I spend all that time asking everyone else what's going on in my life
I'd like you to care.
when all I really want to do is talk about what I've been up to since last week. So that's why we call the segment This Week in Me. And it's about to get really intense. Unfortunately, the angle that the live stream's at is not allowing people to watch me play this on guitar because it's just kind of a shot of my face, so they don't see my hands. But that was me.
That looks like you're holding a USB filled with spy material.
It might be.
It's like the subplot of Captain America 2.
So Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Hit it, Brett. No.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm always doing all right. I'm always doing all right. Fine like wine, baby. Getting ready for the old Comic-Con Palm Springs coming up.
Oh,
this
that's right. You're
weekend.
going to be at that. People
right.
should go see Jeff at
I
that.
am. I got my list of, or I'm about to get my list, but I did get my first approved panel that I'm hosting, and it's I'm hosting the Scotty Young one-on-one, which I'm really excited about. 'Cause I like
That's
Scotty.
dope.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
gonna
dope,
be
dude.
fun.
Good job, Jeff.
Awesome.
It's fun.
Scotty Young is very popular.
Yeah.
Palm Springs is a hoot. There, I said it.
It's fun. It's fun. They they got
It's controversial.
well they I mean I do a favor, but they're just like, yeah, we'll give you a hotel room. Just come on over. They're like, we'll just have you do 6 things over 3 days.
Oh, nice.
So it's nice. It's
And they're
nice.
giving you a free hotel. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's nice to just get out of town.
Yeah, I
To
know.
get away from the cats. We got Jess
Jess is watching the
She's going
cats.
to take care of the cats for us. Yeah.
Jess is great.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
With her sweet little fishtail braid.
Yeah. It's a long braid. Very long.
So she's got long hair.
Cats will have something to play with.
Right? Little toy.
Yeah. Well, cats are going to kill Jess.
Pants will get mad because now Pants is the only one that won't have a tail.
I get it.
My
You know,
cat Pants.
tailless cat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
She's very sweet.
Just very progressive.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about today? Ooh,
We're talking about the South.
talking about Confederate monuments and Charlottesville.
And why we need to keep them.
around.
Is that
Forever.
forever?
Yo, man,
Yeah,
you can't
buddy.
just go erase my history.
Yeah, that seems to be the argument.
My history.
And this was already plenty timely, but there's a Reuters poll that just came out that said 54% of Americans support keeping Confederate monuments in place in all public places. Because I was wondering maybe if they were like, just where the racists live. But no, they mean everywhere. And it,
All those Confederate monuments in Boston.
yeah, exactly. Well, there were a bunch in
Baltimore.
Maryland. Yeah, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Those borders.
There were moving
That's the
lines.
South.
There were moving lines of secession at certain points in time.
Well, Baltimore's near Washington D.C., where it's just like, yeah, this is our power base. This is, so I could see that.
But the other part about
Yeah.
that too is it's Baltimore, so they were also a message.
oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, they were all a mess. Well, most. We'll get to
Yeah.
it, though. But, yeah, and you're not going to believe this, but the responses were sharply divided down racial and party lines.
What?
Yeah, whites and Republicans were more likely to want the monuments to stay in place. Minorities and Democrats wanted to get rid of them.
Strange.
Imagine.
There's no statues. I wonder if you can.
So, this is, like I told everyone, one of the first times we've done a podcast with no notes, because I feel like we'll do some talking.
Do we need notes for this?
No.
Let's talk about it. Why?
So-
What's your favorite Confederate statue? Dan, go.
Yeah.
Okay, I grew up in Athens, Georgia. My favorite Confederate statue is in downtown Athens, Georgia, and it's a double-barreled cannon. And why it's my favorite is because it's hilarious. Because the South was desperate, and they're losing the war, and they were like, well, what if 2 cannonballs were firing out of this shit, and we'll put a chain between them, and it'll like just mow down
shit.
people, right? Which sounds wicked as shit, right?
Yeah, that does
But
sound
so-
pretty cool.
Here's what happens.
I can already. I'm
Sorry.
ahead of you, and it's so great.
They could never figure out. This is like a desperation. It's like whoever the canon Albert Einstein of the South is like, what if we did this? They could never figure out how to get both to fire simultaneously. So one would shoot out first, and it would just fling off to the left or the right, and it could never. It had to be so perfectly. There was no mechanism to simultaneously do it. It never worked. It never got out of testing. Several people were maimed, and cows and shit who were on the side of all these testing situations. It never even fucking worked. And so it's kind of this quirky, which in a strange way fits in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it
that's a
never
very
fucking
Athens
worked.
thing.
built
It's not honoring any like
monument to that?
No, it's the cannon itself, and
Oh.
they just like set it in place
Put a
and
plaque on it.
ironed it to the and like welded it to the fucking floor in front of City Hall. So it's kind of a quirky, stupid monument. It's not like a big statue of a fucking Jesse McGillicuddy who murdered 58.
Yeah.
Who knew
Just says,
lynched
"This is why we
so-and-so."
lost.
Right. It's kind of like it's kind of the Bad News Bears statue of Civil Wars thing, like.
Aren't they all
That's my
kind of like
favorite.
that?
Yeah.
It's
No,
not like
they
won.
all are.
Yeah.
But if I may, we were talking on the way up here when we first were kicking it around. If it is possible, wondering if it is possible to classify these monuments in a certain way, because, okay, you're bumblefuck Tennessee, right, in the Civil War, and 3,000 of people from your town go off and fight in this Civil War, and some of them are fucking 12 years old, and some of them are grown men, whatever. These people did go off and go die in a fucking war, come back with one arm, one leg, whatever. They come back to the town. The South surrenders. You build something that says, in honor of the people that went and fought in a war. You build it at that moment.
Yeah.
I believe that's fucking different than these monuments, and there's an amazing
Right,
chart
right.
out there. I believe that is different than these So the first were Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal, rah, 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 yeah, segregation forever, rah, rah monuments that popped up. If you look at the chart, that was the biggest moment.
The Jim Crow.
Of
right.
Fuck yeah, segregation forever, where clearly people were feeling like, vindicated by like their racism all along, and like suddenly all these schools are being named after Confederate fucking generals when there wasn't that immediately.
Yeah, it's funny because it's clearly a passive resistance to Reconstruction. Like it's so clearly that, where they're like, you know what? Fuck these guys, man. We got to do something about it.
Right, and once the Supreme Court said, once the Supreme Court was co-signing that, you just saw this burst of like creepy pride happen, and then the second biggest burst in Confederate memorials and naming schools after these people is right when desegregation happened, which is a big middle finger
Brown
toward
v. Board
desegregation
coming in.
So
Right.
I think there is a creepiness factor based on how recent these memorials were built.
Yeah, they're more radioactive the sooner
doubt.
they were built. You know
No
what I'm saying?
doubt.
Yeah.
And someone
yeah.
saying, "Man, this is my Civil War monument." Like, well, it's strange that was 90 years after the Civil War.
Yeah,
that one
why
came
is
up.
that?
Right.
Why did you do that?
Right,
What
and
was-
it's disingenuous to pretend, for anyone to fucking pretend. No, this is about celebrating the Civil War when it was built.
But on the other side, on the other side too, as far as this present conflict, it's funny that it's black people, minority, chicks, liberals, their cultural influence that has made this all of a sudden such a toxic thing. We were talking about the fucking Dukes of Hazzard with
Yeah,
Dukes of Hazzard just came out in the 2000s.
That's the most recent Confederate monument we have.
So this cresting.
They remade it in the 2000s.
Right. This cresting of anti-Confederate sentiment it's definitely a cresting. It's a big wave, and certain white people feel it hard. They're like, fuck that. Do you see this giant wave of antipathy for this dope shit we did? This dope, we tried to keep these animals off our lawn. We tried, but we failed, so throw some shit up. They feel it hard that the people are tearing these things down. They feel it real hard.
I like that. I like that they feel it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, my brother was a bank manager in North Carolina, and they literally had to have in employ at all times one black and one white manager to deal with problems from different races, because there are still white people that refuse to work with somebody who was black. So he would.
That's insane.
So his best friend in North Carolina was his co-manager, who was black.
When I bought,
And shit happened. He's like, it's not like that was there. And I was like, oh, why do they do this? He's like, very quickly there were people that were like, I want to work with you because I don't want to work with him.
yeah,
Right.
when I bought my car in fucking downtown LA, the woman I worked with she was a Muslim woman. She had a headscarf, and as soon as like the manager introduced me, she was like, "Are you okay working with me?" And for a second I was like, "Why would you?" And then I was like, "Oh no," because I bet some people say they're not.
Well, that's interesting, and that's in Los Angeles, California.
Right.
Look at the fuckers in Charlottesville
Yeah.
that we've known about. Crying Nazis from New Hampshire. Run people over Nazis from fucking Ohio.
Right,
Hot
right.
dog Nazis in Berkeley.
How great is that hot
And-
dog Nazi?
Right.
Yeah, but that's a great point. It's
Yes, and I tell you this, I'm in Georgia. I'm in Georgia from 6th grade through high school. The first time I heard the N-word uttered by a white person was in New York City.
that doesn't surprise.
I don't know if it's
And
because
it
there's
was
such a
Quentin
power.
Tarantino.
I was with Jimmy Kahn at brunch, and he was like, right, but it was, and I was. I mean, I don't know if it's because there's such
Y'all
a history
get very
behind it.
surprised about what goes on in the Northeast. There's
Yeah.
people black people all know. Like Ed Greer has known since he was a kid that there's racist shit going on in New England. You've been told that, I'm assuming, since you were
Just
there.
It's
New
part-
England,
It's,
but
no,
like-
it's
but
part
like
of the handbook.
New York-
It's got more pages than a couple other states.
But like,
in the handbook, it's got a few more pages.
but like, people think that blue states are blue, but we are people that vote liberal. And then the first time I heard that word was probably when I was 5, and that's because that's the first time I remember hearing it. But
Right.
like I grew up in an all-white community in Massachusetts, and that shit, it was a very homogenous group. It was all white people and like one black person. And who do you think would end up getting into the most fights? Like the black kid ended up having to there was a cross burning when I was in high school in New England from obviously one piece of trash.
Right.
But it was like that was a thing. Like there was a fight. A kid from Worcester moved to our town, and he was like a little more thug, a little more ghetto, and people were like, "Fuck this, we are a cow town," and people did not like it, and it created like there was massive racial issues there in fucking 1997.
Wow.
In Massachusetts.
Did they declare martial law?
I get it.
Worcester. So this guy's used to Route 9. He's used to banging it on the Route 9 to Spags. Right? And then suddenly he's out in the middle of nowhere.
He's out in fucking Charlton.
Charlton.
No, his dad wants to fucking telecommute.
Right.
Well, dude,
The most racist place I've ever lived is upstate New York. And I lived in fucking South Dakota, which, don't get me wrong, really close second. Like super close second. But I lived in South Dakota for 10 years. And like people were racist, but it's like there's a real casual racism in the Midwest where it's just so prevalent. Like you're both like, oh, the first time I heard the N-word, I was probably 3 or 4 because my grandfather was super racist, but in his defense, he was a cop. So he's kind of gotta be, but my mom had no excuse. My mom was also, I'm not afraid to say this, my mom's still alive, but my mom was super fucking racist when I was a kid. And the thing that changed her mind is, one, my sister just started like nonstop dating black dudes, which I was like, oh, that's funny. She's really sticking it to mom. And then she had a kid. And
Is that how your sister got into smoking crack?
That's a Worcester question to ask.
Wow.
That's a Worcester question.
Is it?
That's
do you mean by, is it?
Do you mean by having kids? Because yes, I think that's when it started. Was
parenting joke
after the kids, but you know, she had a kid who was mixed, and my mom was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I guess I'm just not racist anymore.
Like, these
it was
things
like
live through it.
It was like
I
fucking
like this one.
Yeah, it was like,
I like this one.
Overnight, all of a sudden, and then she was fine.
Well,
But
no room to carry that bullshit when it's your family from now on. Like you.
yeah,
like,
but
you can't
even
fucking
then, I
carry
was
that.
like, well, then what the fuck were you basing it on before? Like, you lived in Janesville,
Right.
Wisconsin.
But it's always when you suddenly have a personal connection to something that you can no longer paint it with a broad brush.
I kind of feel like my niece was the first black person she met.
Yeah,
And she was just like, oh.
But see, and that's the thing. You get chastised in certain places when you try to say like, "Yo, just talk to some of these people," because it's like, "Nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
There's no talking to these pieces of shit." It's like, well, when's the last time you heard that shit? You know, what type of person was saying that shit before? You know what I'm saying? So like, come on, like, but at the same time, dude, these echo chambers, man, echo chambers dueling is America right now.
Yeah.
And that's why there's all
Definitely.
this Civil War shit too. Civil War, they really think that we're on the verge of a certain sort of Civil War. We've been on a cultural Civil War for the last 10, 15 years.
Right.
But like almost like a physical one building up from all that rhetoric. We feel that coming. You know what I'm saying? So it's like these Confederate monuments mean so much more to a side that feels like
their shots fired.
Right. There's a certain side that feels like, yeah, man, we should fucking secede. Like, we make all the technology. We invented the wheel. We did this. We survived the fucking potato famine.
Yeah.
We fucking came over from Italy. Blah, blah, blah. This
That's
glob
Boston.
Of,
You're
yeah.
like,
Well,
yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? There's this glob of whiteness that feels
Italians
like
and
it's
Irish.
being
Did you say
shunted
potato
or
famine?
pushed. You know what I'm saying? This glob of whiteness that feels like these motherfucking black hands are pushing us into a shape that we don't like.
I think it's
like this, rah, fuck that.
it's when they said it too. It's like when the oppressors finally see an even keel, that's when they start to feel oppressed.
Yeah.
And it's one of those situations.
Yeah,
where, like,
equality feels like
equality
oppression.
feels like
Yeah.
oppression. Yeah. When and to be fair, like being a white guy is fucking awesome. Like you
To
gotta
be
try
fair.
it. You gotta try it. It's fucking dope.
Yeah, I'm gonna get with Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy's makeup people. We're gonna
Like-
do some white chicks.
I've never
type
no,
shit.
and it never is more evident than when I've been pulled over by the police.
Oh my God! How great is it
it's
getting
just,
pulled over? Right?
I'm always like, crap! Now I'm gonna get a ticket. And to an African American, it's like I need to keep my hands in plain sight, and like, or I could like that person's coming up with a hand on a gun. I've never had that.
Do you remember the straddling the lane ticket that I got in Burbank?
Yeah.
Like, was it last year or something? Where I literally, I was like, I pulled over to the side and I hands on and the guy's like, oh, I was like, well, this is my apartment. Do you mind if I get out of the car while we're here? I've been in my car for quite some time, and I get out, and he actually writes me the ticket for straddling the lane. He's like, it looks like you were on your phone. I'm like, actually, my phone's off and charging right here. And he was like, well, it looks like, and he gave me a ticket for straddling the lane, and I stared at him, and I'm like, really? And he was like, is there a problem? And I looked at him, I'm like, well, I mean, you can probably give me this ticket legally, but even you have to admit you're being a dickhead about it. And he was like taken aback, and I was like, yeah. And then so I started walking back to my apartment, and a car almost hit me. And I looked back at the cop, and I said, hey, 26 and a 25, you want to give her a ticket for going a mile over the limit? And then he goes, well, you weren't in a crosswalk, so technically it would be your fault. And I was like, we're in a residential zone where there are no crosswalks. And I might as well have been like flipping the dude off the whole time. I beat the ticket. Like he never came back. Like I fought it in court and won.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's some white privilege.
Well,
like
I mean,
no doubt.
I felt like I was watching like the Lord of the Rings or something just now. Like listen to that story. I was like, oh, there's an action, there's adventure. The hero might win.
I called a 5'8" Burbank cop a dickhead to his face.
To his face.
And I beat the ticket. Oh God, it was so. Well, he didn't show up because he knew he wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
He didn't show up. I won. I called him a dickhead to his face, and I won.
White.
And I roasted the shit out of him crossing the street.
And you're roasting him right now.
Fuck that guy, officer, whatever the fuck your name is.
White privy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dope.
No, I just think people really need to start concentrating more on culture though, because there's like a lot of people of a certain culture that go across. There's like I saw Bill Maher and some Muslim dude who used to be kind of a terrorist a little bit, and now he's like a super prize-winning author about like how he beat it or whatever, and now he's against it and shit. And him and Bill Maher are chopping it up about religion. They're part of the same culture. You know what I'm saying? Bill Maher and this Muslim dude are the same culture. They don't like extremist Muslims, and they make a big deal about it, make a big part of their life about it. We stretch across cultures. You and I are part of a culture because we like comic books and stuff, and we can recognize artists by looking at the book. Ron Swallow's not even.
Stop
in that
pulling
culture.
me into your.
No, Ron Swallow's not even in that culture. He can't look at a book and tell who drew it and place when it came out. So we're part of a culture.
But I'm against Extreme Studios.
I don't think anybody's for Extreme Studios.
It's Rob Liefeld's studio.
Rob Liefeld.
Sure.
Okay,
what were you saying, Ed?
We're not
This
the audience.
explains this.
The
Explains
bottom line
this.
is cultures. I think people need to start concentrating more on cultures instead of like colors and shit. Because
Yeah.
I feel like they're already those goofy ass black conservatives. They really think they're welcome because they really feel like they're part of that culture.
Right.
You know what
right.
I'm saying? And they just and that's how they get them. It's just like, do you like shooting guns? Do you like certain regressive policies? Well, fuck it, come kick it with us.
Yeah.
You know, and it crosses the culture. They love having that black guy to be able to spout that shit.
Right.
Oh man.
So
And-
and they're, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like,
And that's even kind of backfiring on Fox News and just news. Like,
they're
did you-
in Fox News. They're turning like
Well,
all the black.
Well, there
pundits on
there
Fox
was the
News.
one anchor
Yeah.
who just railed on Trump, which
Ebony-
was fucking great.
Ebony Clark. What's her last name? Ebony something.
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, Ebony something.
Yeah, I don't
Ebony
remember.
something. That's fast. So apropos.
Is it bad that is it bad that the only part I remember is Ebony?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part that's
But
important.
I don't know if you saw, there was a clip also going around where it was two guests. They were both black. One was conservative. One was Democrat and or liberal, whatever. And this anchor was kind of trying to bait the conservative guy into admitting that there were bad people on both sides. And they both just like broke down crying about Trump. And like the conservative guy, like the liberal, the woman talks and she's like fucking weeping. And the woman's
Like a woman.
And the Fox News anchor is like, well, there's bad people on the both sides. And then she throws to the other guy and he's like, I've never felt more disrespected by a president in my life. Well, and he goes on this rant about how fucking how Trump basically sold out what few black followers he had. Like, and
I'm so confused as to why more high-ranking conservatives aren't livid that their party has been subverted. Like, I don't. It doesn't blow my mind. It blows my mind
because they've been handed a blank check for every other fucking piece of legislation they've ever had a wet dream about putting through.
But they're not putting anything through. They've got to get because like nothing's going through.
We're only half of one. God,
Shit.
It hurts to say we're 16% of the fucking. We're 15% of the way there.
Yeah,
like,
but shit gets done still, and it hasn't. And like, but the thing is like their party has now become the bad guys. Like they're doing everything they can to be villains, and like everyone's starting to notice.
They just hope there's such a reckoning with that pendulum swings back so fucking hard.
The only thing that's saving the Conservative Party is infighting in the left. It's the only thing.
And if we don't get over that in the next year before the midterms,
right.
That is so crucial.
It won't happen.
Because that they're loving it.
The people are still fighting over Bernie versus Hillary, which already happened.
Right.
yeah.
Meanwhile, and I absolutely understand that those monuments are fucking affront to goodness. No, but we're talking about the monuments. But that issue is such a losing issue for the fucking left because it will congeal the right around a culture war, branding, and that's something Trump has always fucking branded. First time I was ever on here, we talked about before the election. I was like, branding.
Right.
Lying this person, lying that person. That and it will just allow them to paint. Again, the person who paints with the broadest stroke is going to get people to those polls blindly. And guess if there's freaking infighting and one person on the left is damaging one of the other candidates on the left, perhaps mortally. I come from Georgia, which is considered a red state. If you lined up 100 voters in Georgia, 47 of them vote Democrat. That's barely a fucking red state.
Is that Athens or is that Georgia?
No, that's Georgia. All of these places that we say are.
But what if you
I did a show in Athens and it was fantastic.
Yeah, right. But what if you lined that up along, not cultural, but going back to what Ed said, what if you lined that up on race? How much of that 47% is white?
Right.
In
Georgia.
Georgia.
I'm not sure.
That's really because that's really what it comes down to.
Sure.
Is Atlanta is voting. Atlanta is voting Democrat because Atlanta is predominantly black city, right? I mean, all things considered.
Well, dude, but I think we're missing the whole point of like all the gerrymandering and shit that the Republicans did so that they can win certain districts. It's like that's super serious when you look at the House and the Senate is just all of those fuckers, and the president is that dude. And like you said, they can't get anything done.
Yeah,
it's because they are in general in favor of him being in there because he's a Republican, but everything else he stands for, a lot of the Republican dudes really don't like. Yeah. But they, just like when it's hard to buck your party. That's the thing about having a binary system, right?
Yeah, Joe Lieberman, that's the one. He was the big one, and
there've been a few,
but it's very rare.
Yeah, and the thing about the Confederate statue issue right now is it plays into the idea, at least for the people on the right who are worried about this and throw this phrase around, it plays into the white genocide idea because
genocide.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course. Oh, wrong one. I did the cunt dinger for genocide. No,
disrespect genocide. Like
yeah.
that.
But I mean, part of genocide involves erasing history. Like when Ceausescu was assassinated in Romania, he was accused of genocide, but he wasn't murdering people. He was just erasing the history of an entire race within that country. And that's what I think that's what they're trying to play into to rile that side up, is that, they're erasing your history. But that's not the kind of history you celebrate in a country. There's a reason there's no statues of Hitler in fucking Germany. Because when something like, you acknowledge it happened so you don't forget it.
It belongs in a museum.
I get that argument. Like, well, if we erase history, how do we remember it? For events like that, you don't remember the people who fought to keep it in place. You remember the victims.
And are you studying
where
monuments?
are the fucking slavery monuments? Is there even a big monument to victims of slavery in the United States?
I'm sure there is a few.
I mean, the one
But
that comes to mind. Key into your fucking point. The one that comes to mind is one of Lincoln. I don't remember where it's at, but it's of Lincoln and this like slave like on his knees, and Lincoln is like,
Yeah,
like bestowing upon it.
exactly.
That's the one.
Jesus.
That's the one to slavery that
Right,
there is.
right, and that's
there isn't any
fucked up.
Yeah, there's no Superman breaking the chains. There's no John Henry fucking up the train.
Harriet Tubman. Harriet
Like-
Tubman. Okay, where are the Tubman statues? There must be some.
Is there a slavery museum? There's a Holocaust museum. Is there a slavery museum?
Tellingly, yeah, there
I bet
definitely
there
is.
is,
There's a bunch of them, but definitely, tellingly, there's a huge, super expensive, looking like Han Solo and Carbonite ass MLK statue. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yeah, boy, he was kind of like, he kind of learned our handshake, and we kind of learned his. Before
Right,
we killed
yeah.
him. It's like, okay, good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
What the statue thing and the footage of the statues coming down and the footage of the statues being taken away, it just allows there to be a clip on Facebook for Joe Bob to share with Mary Beth.
Yep.
That shows
Yeah.
an erasing of culture. So for people who feel like, oh, the culture is getting away from us, and what has happened to the good old days, and you see that, and very important language that the right is now using is, what's next? George Washington coming down? What's next?
Yeah,
Yes,
let's talk about it.
But that is
yeah.
very important. That is speaking to white people who are above the Mason-Dixon line
right.
and west of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yep. All of them.
On the right, saying, no, this is never going to stop. Next, it's the Washington statues. Next, all of history's gone.
Yep.
Pre-1970.
Dude,
you know?
that thing speaks very much to, and I hate to say it, but almost all white people, that speaks very much to, because it's like, okay, hold on. There does have to be a point. And maybe the point is this point. Maybe we got to stop it right here.
Yeah.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
And
So
that's-
it swings it back around,
and
and
it
it's
ties
like,
into everyone. Well, wasn't there a point?
smart. Yeah, it's a smart branding thing. Trump, I gotta say, Trump. They say he's so fucking dumb, but him throwing that in there as a talking point, whoever gave him that talking point, I don't give a fuck. He delivered it with conviction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah,
delivered
Trump's
that shit
not
with conviction.
dumb.
Right.
Like-
Then suddenly,
I did look at the
white
eclipse.
people in the north.
Yeah.
But white people in the north whose ancestors fought to keep the Union together and fought tooth and nail against the Confederacy are suddenly defending the Confederacy.
Right, because
And
they don't want to see the George
Look,
Washington
'cause-
monument taken down or anything of that
Well, next
nature.
they'll be coming for all history. And Christopher Columbus. What about Columbus?
But
As
which
long
is-
as
which
the
is specious,
RoboCop
though. That's-
monument stays up in
Yeah,
Detroit. I'm
absolutely.
But
fine
dude,
with it.
I think I solved it though. In my own mind, I was driving over here and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about, okay, the cost to the taxpayer of taking these things down and even putting them in museums and stuff, taking them out of state, and I'm just like, dude, why don't we just modify them for everybody to enjoy? So like Robert E. Lee on his horse getting dunked on by Shaq, and the fucking horse is whinnying and it's going backwards.
in Louisiana, right?
Yeah, and Robert E. Lee's hat is coming off, and Shaq is just dunking the fucking ball
Shaq's-
right off
but,
of him.
but you know, the right sculptor
Yeah.
could make it so that if you took it from one angle, if you want it just to be Robert E. Lee,
Uh-huh.
you don't see the shack.
Right.
And then if
You
you take
always
it from
see
the other
the
end, I'm just
I
saying.
was gonna go with them, but yes,
No,
you
I
do definitely
did
always see
alterations.
the shot. Yeah. But
Especially if you're the type that's there to see a Robert E. Lee statue.
And then people
you're going to see
Right.
Shaq.
You're gonna
And
see
by
how
the
you're
way,
gonna
is
see-
there not a better way to describe reparations than just Shaq dunking on Robert E. Lee?
dude, exactly.
In lieu of reparations, we're spending $2.5 billion adding Shaquille fucking O'Neal to every Confederate statue.
Hey,
There you
the
go.
NBA will match funds because it's perfect advertising.
Ed Greer wins on that one.
There
That's
it is.
it.
That's great. Just
Yeah.
the
He
Shaq
fixed it.
attack.
The Shaq
Yeah.
attack.
That what we were just talking about though leads into something else I want to talk about though, which is the protest itself and the idea of either punch Nazis or let Nazis talk. That's I think another really divisive issue right now, and I think it's a distinction that people are like. I feel like it's an important distinction to make right now. Like, punch Nazis, yeah, but be selective about when you punch your Nazis.
I think
Like,
punch
if you
Nazis-
see a Nazi doing some Nazi shit, punch a Nazi. But if you see a Nazi standing in, if you see
Line at
18,
Starbucks or something.
18 Nazis standing in the courtyard of a college and there are 3,000 of you, just let those motherfuckers talk. Like, just
do you let them
don't-
talk or you just not punch them?
You don't punch them. Like, you don't have to. Yeah,
Don't
you don't
let
have to
them
let them
talk.
talk. But don't lead with violence because I feel like it speaks to the same thing where
It's like how ISIS wants to
if
die.
there are protests on both sides, Trump is going to start with the branding also. And both sides, I tweeted a whole thing about this. What it will do is it will allow him to label both sides as radical elements in the United States who both want to undermine
just on a
our
roller coaster?
system of government.
Right.
So he can say, well, the white nationalists on the right, they're doing that, and also the socialists and black lives. Because once you say socialists and black people, that's when you're going to get the people above the Mason-Dixon line also who are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I thought those were just people who didn't support Trump. I didn't know they were socialists.
Right.
And
I didn't know they wanted to kill cops, which is not has never been part of any of the official platform of anything.
Right.
Right.
And
It's always those one fucking jerk offs that show up with those signs, and you're like, well, now you're going to be on Breitbart as you're going to be reused as every photo for every protest.
I think it also gets into the echo chamber thing where you have to let people ask questions and talk about shit, because right now saying no, maybe don't punch first, people are like, you're supporting Nazis, and it's like,
right.
no, I don't want the country to disintegrate
Well, no,
now.
it's a bigger conversation. It's like I went to Politicon. I went to Politicon, and I went to like a Black Lives Matter fucking symposium or whatever, and I sat behind 3 Trumpers or whatever, and they were like giggling to each other while all the fucking grandmas cried about their babies and shit. And I'm on the outside like, I don't have a baby. I was my mom's only kid. I kept my nose pretty clean. And I survived because of multisyllabic words every time I fucking got pulled over by police. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I get it and I don't get it. And so I'm watching this shit. But the thing I did get was this chick. She goes, yeah, and the thing is, we got to disband the Los Angeles PD. And she got like a little applause from this little pocket over here, but most of the people were just like, ugh, what the fuck are you talking about, bitch? You're fucking up right now.
Yeah.
And these are the people who always get to talk. These are the people who grab the mic and they just filibuster and they get their shit in. These idiots.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for reasonable people to talk more to each other so that we can see what the real litmus test of the country is, because we're relying on a bunch of Facebook memes and weird bullshit.
Facebook's making it really hard.
Dude, this emojification of your real emotions is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm either frowny face or weird cat face or crying. Fuck you. I'm like a bunch of different shit.
Yeah.
You know?
On Facebook, and this is just talking about the equating, again, a big strategy on the right, equating Black Lives Matter with Charlottesville.
Right.
With those
Right.
guys. And I had put a status, it was just pointing out, it's easy to call this a South problem, but look at where those people from Charlottesville were from
We're
and named
coming
all the
from,
places.
yeah.
And this distant relative, it's always a distant relative on Facebook, right? But I know, and it's exactly what Black Lives Matter did in Missouri and in
Oh, they
in
love doing
Milwaukee.
that.
They come in and just stir the pot. Like, what are you saying? Are you saying normally our African Americans are really they know their place? Like, what are you saying? Something outrageous happened in Missouri. Something outrageous happened in Milwaukee, and those places exploded. And I was able to look it up, and 133 of 155 people arrested in Missouri were from there. And they weren't some agitators from out of But the idea, it's such a strategy to equate those two. Oh, they're on both sides. And it's...
Yeah.
The more people like that disband the LAPD and kill
those people get a big mic in their hand, just like when anything horrible happens, who gets the mic? If I see an accident, do I get the mic, or does this motherfucker came out the sky? This motherfucker came out the sky. That guy
it's auto-tune.
Why do you have to shit on me right in front of me?
Right.
That guy gets the mic, is all I'm saying. And it's a protection. It's to pitch something else into the echo chamber, to tumble around like a fucking brick in a washer. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Dark times.
Dark times.
Can you say that?
They're
Oh, come on.
Yeah. We like to have a good time.
Jeff May crossed the line.
No, I don't. It is weird though when you see when you're not like you're being considered, like people on the left are now being considered centrists if they're not like, you know what we should do, disband the entire government. Or it's just like, what? I'm in the center now because I'm liberal, like I'm just liberal and I'm not insanely, like that's the thing now. It's like the idea of centrism, and I see it everywhere as being like this awful thing, and it's like, I mean, Is that really? Is
Well,
Bernie
I mean,
still
but-
your
but
guy when it's 2020 and he's dead?
But
for
look-
2
Yeah.
years.
But
Like,
look
Bernie's
at
not going to make it.
look
to
at even the process of protest. If you really look at it, one of the best protests I've ever seen of Nazi anything was this white dude. He rolled up on this Nazi dude who was like saying his speech, and the guy's just going, "No, no,
Yeah.
no."
I like
just
the-
in his face. He's just saying no, and
Yeah.
I saw that, and I was like, he's not touching him. It's just
Yeah.
it's real like you and your sister, right? I am not touching you. I am
Right,
not touching you.
exactly.
And it was really effective and all that jazz. But I'm just thinking, turning our populace into that is freaking me out. Even if it's Nazis, I'd hate
Right.
Nazis. I hate Nazis as much as anybody. If a Nazi tried to physically do anything to me, they get super fucked up in my mind. In
Yeah.
my combat fantasies. So all that shit, but like turning
think you could
us
do it.
into a bunch of when people start doing something bad, whatever
Yeah,
the fuck
yeah.
bad is, turning us into that. I don't think I like it.
Well, what
I don't
about
think I
getting
like that
people
at all.
fired? Where are you at on the getting people fired? The doxing.
Full face Nazi rally. You're on your own, kid.
yeah. Like if your job is contingent on how you behave,
Like hot
outside
dog,
of
like
your
hot
work,
dog
fuck you.
heating up hot dogs.
Dude, if I was a Nazi teacher, I wouldn't go to the fucking rallies. They'd be like, "How come they want me to do the
Yeah,
kids?"
that to me is like the definition of free speech, because it's like,
Yes.
well, Nazis, if you're mad about that, do the same thing to the counter protesters. Tell their jobs that they were at an anti-Nazi rally,
Yeah,
and see
exactly.
if they get fired.
Yeah.
You have every right to do the same thing they're doing to you.
That's
There's a reason
it's in
you're
public.
the ones getting fired.
And
It's
if
in
you look-
public.
and it's like Reddit. When you looked at like all those back when they like the Gamergate thing, and they were doxing people not to get them fired, but to have people mail them harassing. That's why fucking Milo was kicked off of Twitter and everything like that.
Yeah.
And they were doxing to harass. And this doxing is to call attention to Nazi beliefs in 2017 in the United States of America. And it's like, yeah, you should lose your job.
Yep, agreed. Although I will say, that guy could have harmlessly been making hot dogs for the next 6 decades, and now he may be the architect of a future Holocaust. We don't know. It could be a butterfly effect. What's
that?
wrong?
Oh, fuck
I
that.
want the racists making fucking hot dogs. I don't want them making laws.
But you know what I think?
I don't
agree
think
with
that's
you.
gonna be the progress he's gonna
hold on. I agree
Probably
with
not.
you. I agree with you that there's going to be a butterfly effect. But the thing is that what's going to happen is he's going to become a painter. So it's going to all come. It's going to all come
Yeah.
full circle. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know,
So don't
it's
worry
a
about it.
total Hitler art school situation with that hot dog guy. Keep an eye on him.
It is very
Whatever
an eye
he
on that.
does, it's probably going to be worse than heating up some Frankfurters in Berkeley. That's all I'm saying.
What's a Nazi doing in Berkeley? Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you, the
Well, dude,
Did he
the dude-
enroll there?
The dude that runs Breitbart right now is he graduated Berkeley.
Yeah, there is this handful of counter. There's an
I
insurgency
mean, there'd have to be.
in
It's such a
academia.
homogenous. Yeah, there would
Yeah.
have to be a response, and that's another thing people don't understand. That these are just responses, right? After the first black president, all of a sudden we're in a new fucking civil war, and during the black president, a bunch of Negroes are getting shot. It's like, oh, I don't know why these things are happening.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see any correlation. It's so ridiculous
I think
to me.
Facebook Live also had a
And-
lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Those
And-
Negroes were getting shot before.
Oh
we
yeah,
had a
wait.
black
Well,
president.
just phones. Period. But dude, I'm a connoisseur of Negroes getting shot videos. I saw those on those old Sprint phones with the first color screen. I was like, one of the first things I saw was a Negro getting
They
shot.
just stopped playing
You know,
Snake so you
I'm-
could watch the video.
Yeah, I'm on. I like incesticide as far as how deep I go on my knowledge of Negroes
Good
getting
Nirvana
shot,
reference. Is
right?
that what that was? Jesus.
I go deep.
The
on that shit.
incesticide of police brutality videos.
murder videos.
Well done. That was great.
Did you just say KKK?
That'll be the new sound
is.
effect for KKK.
You know, it is strange though, because the KKK, they used to be hooded, and now it's become just guys dressing up in either black T-shirts or in fucking military gear.
And it's because of the president we have in office.
Yeah.
But kind of speaking to what you were just saying, it's people feel that side feels emboldened by having a president like Trump in office, and that's understandable. Like, of course they do. Like, of course, Your president seems like a Nazi. You're a Nazi. You're like, that's my guy.
The American population decided that this was the guy that is okay.
Right.
So we're okay
but
now.
I feel like what's really important is the other side's reaction to those Nazis. Like, do we get scared? And like you can't let them being emboldened by the president make them the target. The president is still the fucking problem. Like, this administration that's in office right now is the reason Nazis feel this fucking confident. And I'm not saying like just let Nazis fucking run free, but don't get distracted.
Okay, yes.
Like,
but if you have a roach infestation in your house, yes, you have to patch up the hole that the roaches got in there, but you also got to call the fucking exterminator.
Or you got
got to
kill the roach that's laying the eggs.
Well, exactly, but you got to exterminate the roaches as well as fix the house so they can't get back in.
No, we don't necessarily. Because what people on that side are going to hear is you saying exterminate everyone who thinks that way.
I'm using an allegory, not exterminate.
I know,
literally,
but it's the same thing. And
get them fired from their hot dog jobs.
And no, I mean, we can do that, but you have to understand that's like the difference between being a drug dealer who sells pounds of drugs and one who buys 1 pound and splits it up and then sells it in small quantities. You're still going to achieve your aim, which is making money, but it's going to be so much more work. Why focus on eliminating individual Nazis when killing Hitler would have done the fucking trick? Like, I'm just saying we can't overreact.
Can
and
we use
think that
these Nazis as rocket scientists too?
I see, that's the thing. Are they even fucking Nazis? Do we even give them
A few of them are.
the credit to call them that? I'm just saying.
They believe in Nazi ideals. They're
Right,
not like
but-
Olympics Nazis from the
But you get
36.
what I'm saying, right? Like, we can't get
Well,
distracted
you're saying
and get scared because we have a president that's emboldening Nazis.
Yes,
we need
but
to
no.
get mad
But
that
for-
there's a president
but
emboldening Nazis.
Rocking the Boston right now with the Red Sox cap in front of me. What happened in Massachusetts this weekend was
Yeah, when you put
beautiful.
40,000 people
And
like,
was
yeah,
important.
Yeah.
And it involved Nazis, but it really wasn't about those fucking Nazis. It was about reclaiming what America really is about.
And you can
Right.
do both. I'm saying, like, you can do
But
both things.
all I'm saying is don't start the violence.
That's fine.
But you have to understand how punch Nazis, and then
it in
the
their
minute
homes.
you have the gall to say, okay, ease up, maybe don't punch every Nazi every time you see a Nazi, and then people are like, you're a Nazi. Like, we have to get past that shit.
Yeah,
or we're
that's-
gonna fucking wreck
Well,
this
that's-
country on our own.
That's the part of the left that's cannibalizing itself.
Yeah.
And they're calling people that say maybe don't. They're like, oh, you're a centrist. Would it be better if Obama just had drones bomb all the Nazis? And you're like, fuck off.
Well, but here's the conundrum there's a grand conundrum to the response to so-called racism and so-called fascism. There's a profound conundrum to it. When someone calls you the N-word as a black person, you have two choices. One, you can be a coon-ass bitch and ignore it and let it slide, or you could be a real motherfucker and fuck them up and probably go to jail and probably fuck your life up and probably ruin yourself and probably act more like an animal than you ever have in your whole fucking life. Those are your choices. And that, my friend, is a fucked up way to see the world. And when you start letting it be a binary equation between, oh, I'm going to fuck them up and total inaction pussiness, when you
Right.
let your worldview become that, it does make you either become a total fucking pussy and not do anything, or go be like some of the Antifa people, do the mask, do the Batman thing. Be like, dude, I must fuck these Nazis up. Because check it out. This is the conundrum I have with Nazis. Nazis say they want to exterminate you and kill you, but that's all they do is say it.
right.
So they walk
Until
around
they
and
do it,
yeah,
though.
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
But
saying though.
we've
But
been-
they put you in a conundrum as a person to, if you fuck them up preemptively. Where's preemptive war gone in the past? A lot of fucked up places. So you fuck somebody up preemptively with your grand knowledge of what's going to happen. It's they put you in a position where you're the villain, and that's how they're trying to win this info wars. You see what I did there? They're trying to win this info wars by positing that you're attacking them and you're driving them out. They're doing a victim thing, just like Taliban thinks the fucking Star Wars is about them.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you say, well, we can't wait until it happens, the difference with the first Nazis, the throwback Nazis, it was the first time we'd seen that. Like there had been repressive, there had been repressive regimes, but not to that scale in the modern era.
Well, the Russian pogroms happened in the 1900s, and even during the Revolutionary War, there were Jews that were massacred.
Right, there were
because
Jews
they're
that were
Jews.
massacred, but it's not on the scale of the Holocaust.
Well, Russian
and it
pogroms
also
were
didn't.
systematically happening
But
over centuries. But I mean, that
But
is
you
still
get
a
what I'm
thing.
saying. Russia didn't also immediately try to go to war with every country on Earth. Like the Nazi regime was a different thing, and they followed. They laid the groundwork. We know how they did it now.
I mean, they had some of the best mythology overall.
Yeah.
Because it was tapping into old Germanic mythology too.
And-
we're supposed to trod this land.
And that's the danger to me in everyone constantly citing Godwin's law. Like you have to wait until Nazis start killing Jews before you can call them Nazis. No, we know how Nazis work now. They exist. We can start calling them Nazis whenever they start acting Nazi-like, and Trump did that right away.
Well, this is
the
my
point
thing,
now
yeah.
is to stop them, but like I don't know. I feel like we're a little better prepared to deal with it this time. Also because it's happening here. Like it happened in fucking Germany, and they build cars, but they don't fucking build
Well,
empires.
they were also I mean, the fact of the matter is they were massively depressed. They were still reeling from the results of World War One.
World War One ended. Their noses were rubbed in, and a puppet government was set up. They
Yep.
were not. I mean, there is such a thing as letting a place lose a war with dignity in a weird. And Germany.
Well, you know why, right? I mean, that all ties back to the Franco-Prussian War.
But
Yeah.
the fact
the Franco-Prussian War falls back to the
But
Peloponnesian
the
War.
fact that all of these super sick, real fucking wars are being compared to our present political state
Yeah.
Right.
is indicative of how fucked up people's minds are, because they think, dude, they put that monkey in there for 8 motherfucking years, not for 8 motherfucking years, and his wife is doing push-ups with my little kids, and what the fuck is going on?
Right.
Those people think that they lost on a scale of like the bugs,
Yes.
the Starship Trooper bugs came down, and now we work for them. They
That-
think that Obama winning is akin to that.
There's that, and when I was early on comparing Trump to Hitler, I made the point that at some point he's really going to go hard for the black community. It was in all of his campaign platforms, and not go hard like kill them, like really start trying to appeal to the black community. And I was like, when I was saying, he could win, like Hitler won, like Hitler came to power, why couldn't Trump win? And people were like, America's not as bad as Germany was. And I'm like, do you live in Appalachia or Chicago? Like, if you live in an inner city neighborhood where there's a lot of drugs and a lot of gun violence, or you live in one of these rural depressed areas that brought Trump to power, you don't think America is great. And that's where the bubble came in, where people on the left were like, no, America's not like that. But some people, whether America's like that or not, for one thing, for some people it is. For some people, the
lot of people-
conditions they're living in are
Trash.
as bad as any fucking third world country.
Most of the people that were like, it's not that bad, have degrees. And they've grown up in single family homes, and they've done all this shit.
But you brought up like the 1930s Germany was this and this and this.
Well, yeah.
But current day America is this and this
Yeah.
and this to
I
some
mean,
people too.
remember the economy
Depression,
was
yeah, we
still
just had, yeah.
brutally,
Yeah.
And that was done by wealthy white men.
Yeah.
Like they torpedoed the entire country.
the entire middle class.
Like they just shattered it. They destroyed it, and that is exactly what happened when Germany became Germany after the Franco-Prussian War. They signed in the Palace of Versailles just as a middle finger to France. They didn't have to do it. They signed in the fucking Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles. France always had a boner for Germany after that to take them out. So when Germany lost World War I, instead of a fair and equitable cessation of power, Germany was instructed to pay for the entire war. And what they did is they basically bankrupt the entire nation. And then you hear the stories of wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread, et cetera, et cetera. And they basically had their dicks pushed into the dirt for 20 years before somebody showed up and was like, let's make Germany great again. That's like literally the platform he went on. The only difference is Hitler had the balls to be in the military.
Right. And in order to successfully do what he did, you need boogeymen. And Donald Trump showed the right boogeymen. He had a boogeyman for anyone who had something wrong with their fucking lives.
Yeah.
It was the Mexican guy coming over to take the jobs, or it was guys shooting each other in Chicago. They could shoot you next, or you show people the right boogeyman.
Yeah.
They're yours.
I'm your boogeyman.
But this is the scariest shit. I don't believe the electorate being what it is. I don't believe Republicans can ever win the popular vote again. And they don't need to, and they know they don't need to. And they are going to plan accordingly.
Yeah.
If they disenfranchise the right fucking people and scare the right people in the right places, they can eke wins every time.
States' rights at some point becomes a way to lock down elections too, because if it's like if say pre-existing conditions, I brought this up before, pre-existing conditions become a states' rights issue, and you absolutely have to live somewhere where pre-existing conditions are not a problem, that's probably going to be a blue state like California or somewhere that's set itself up as a sanctuary state, and you're going to flee that red state you're living in, fucking angry at Trump. You're going to go to California, and you're going to cast a worthless fucking vote for Trump because of the Electoral College. And you can repeat that with immigration. If you have family members who have been here, not technically legally, but what people don't realize is a lot of these people getting deported have been for years checking in and, doing everything they need to do, like being in touch with immigration the whole time.
Yeah.
And then they just show up to one meeting and now they're getting deported. If you're one of those people in California as a sanctuary state, you're going to be like, fuck it, we have a good life here, but maybe we need to go to California just to be safe.
It's the new grapes of wrath.
Yeah, and it's just it's just people fleeing red states because of red state policies and going to blue states.
We talked about the grand echo chamber, right? You start to be in these places where you like to be, and I like to hear this music. I like to be this person, and you just start to find these little enclaves, and then we wonder why a fucking civil war breaks out. But then you're going like, well, okay, there's individual choice though. I choose to go chill out with a bunch of hippies in Berkeley or whatever. So it's like,
right.
At what point are we like forcing something that isn't natural? I'm not saying like integration. Again, I believe in culture.
Well, you like to live where you're comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, that, like the idea of you living near people where you feel safe can create an echo chamber because, you live, if you're from Cambodia, you're going to move in where all the Cambodians are, and your echo chamber is literally going to be in Cambodian. There's not a lot of room.
And you can ease yourself into society or you won't.
No,
and then, but as long as you're paying your fucking taxes, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Right?
Pay your taxes, have insurance, who gives a fuck?
Well, that was actually one of the problems with when the Ashkenazi Jews moved into Germany, is that they were considered, because there was a massive movement of them after the diaspora in Rome, and they all settled there. And the Sephardic Jews in Spain actually did really well because they integrated, whereas the Ashkenazi Jews that settled in Germany, Austria, and other parts of Western Europe did not. And they actually were very sort of like walled off from integrating into the community. And that led to another part of why they were treated so poorly, is because they were considered in a way like culturally snobby, like that they're too good to integrate.
Yeah, I don't want to adopt your. Yeah.
And then that also gave, like, people looked at that as being like, and you see that today. You see a lot of people that'll be like, oh, you're people are talking bad about straight white males, and it's like, why don't you want us to be a part of your community? Like, how come we can't be on your comedy show?
Are you saying people but saying, oh, these Mexicans move here and they don't learn English?
There's that too. Yeah, I mean, there's like you don't become part of the society. Yeah.
Talking point. I mean, it's a huge talking point.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they want all the benefits, but they don't want to,
And that's a very similar thing that happened.
Yeah.
My taxes pay for. I saw there's this new viral video of this lady at like Walmart getting a package wrapped or something, and she's behind these two chicks who are speaking Spanish. She's like, my taxes pay for every goddamn thing in your motherfucking card over there, man. And she's turning around to try to get approval from the people on the line, like, right? Am
am I right? Everyone's just like,
It's like a bunch of Rodney
Like, where's the
Dangerfields.
one guy to pepper spray her?
Crickets.
Like, where's
Yeah.
the one? Because, like, I always see in situations like that to me seems threatening on a physical level. When somebody starts doing that and getting in people's faces, I'm like, that should be a call
Yeah,
to
if
fucking, you
nothing
need
else-
to pepper spray someone when they do that.
well, if
shit.
nothing else, Walmart should step in right away and be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, get
Right.
the
Your money's
fuck
not welcome here.
out.
And see, to me, I think that's going to be the winning of the culture war. Realistically, with people like Americans, and I love Americans, but this is how you talk to them. You talk to them in their wallets, and you hit
Yeah.
them, and you hit them right there. And if you can't be fucking racist inside businesses,
Yeah.
then you're just not gonna be able to fucking do that. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, man, I gotta go down to the store. I gotta take off my stormtrooper jacket with the fucking Nazi bolts on it and shit,
Yeah.
and put on a regular jacket and go inside the fucking store. And I don't want to drive anybody underground. I do love this whole. I like the so-called doxing. I think it's outing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
I like that.
outing, I think, in that case is a better
You know what I'm saying?
term.
Because doxing is
Yeah.
they live at such and such lane and go fuck them up. That's doxing. Like, this guy is Ryan, whatever the fuck, and he works at Taco Hut, and now he doesn't. Is a little bit different to me.
Yeah,
we should go to Taco Hut after this.
we should hit.
They're all
yeah.
racist over there. Don't go to Taco Hut.
Yeah, we
Are they
should
still
hit a Taco
employed?
Hut.
Hi-El hot dog. We should go to that one.
So we should. We're getting close to an hour. We should. Should we read some comments from the last episode?
Let's read some comms.
Should we do it? One thing, should we address the? I tried to throw out all the objections that a person who supports monuments and Nazis would throw out. The only one I don't think I got to, which is one of my favorite, the Confederate War wasn't all about slavery, which.
Fuck you.
Come
I mean, yeah,
on.
dignifying that
Once
is ridiculous.
any part of it is about slavery, all the other fucking negotiations, like the Nazis brought jobs to Germany, and that's fine. But also they exterminated Jews, and that's where you stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and this is one thing I would say, as far as when you really look at somebody's ability to just up and move and go somewhere, just think about your ability right now. There's some successful guys in this room. There's some not so successful guys in this room. And being able to
Which one
just-
do you consider me to be?
I just threw it out there, baby. Now, here's the point. When you look at your ability to just be like, yo, man, if Trump totally went nuts and was just like, yeah, we're gonna eat Negroes every morning, so here we go. That's us as a country.
Finally.
How do you move? How do you just get up and go to fucking Canada or Mexico or wherever the fuck
you
you
become
want
a
to do?
refugee.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You become a fucking refugee. So you just imagine becoming a refugee, the real practicality of becoming a fucking refugee. You would not do that. So all I'm saying is, when you look at the Confederacy, when I look back on the Confederacy, I do hate those fucking monuments. If they got all melted down and made into muskets, shot into fucking Heil Hitler people's asses, I'd love that. That's
Yeah.
fine in my fantasies. But in fucking reality, man, I do agree that it's just like, it's not something I would want to concentrate on. I don't think it should be in colleges or in major like bank type
Yeah.
situations. Shit like that is kind of whack. But if it's off in the fucking woods and they can go worship it at their leisure, I don't really give
Yeah.
a fuck about that. You know what I mean? But I just feel like I do feel like we need to concentrate on other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's hard to say something like this is a distraction because it is like it's speaking to something that's definitely
just-
not
Oh,
a
but-
And
distraction.
that's why they're not going to stop. That's another thing. The last thing I'll say is that's why the people on the other side, we've been talking about why would you set that up as a crutch issue? Because I think the people on the other side, be they leftists, be they Noam Chomsky people, Berkeley people, whatever, they think if they can rip these out, that we can be a sort of almost totalitarian nice state like Germany seems to be trying to
Right.
be, where it's like no monuments to Nazis, no Hitler bullshit, we wiped it fucking clean, you can read it in a book if you want to know about it, but fuck that. They really feel like if they win that war that the country will change in some way that's almost evangelical to them.
but
we're
And
too-
I
we're too
think
big
that's
for
whack.
that.
I
I
think
know,
that's
I
whack,
hear
and I
you.
don't think that's
Yeah.
going to work.
What look, this election was white people saying, hey, what about us?
It's like, what
and
about
so
us?
when you can put, again, the video clips, the shorthand video clips, the memes
Yep.
on Facebook, when you can put those up and it literally has an action that people can look at and say, hey, yeah, what about white culture? Which is hilarious because white culture is clearly
I
the
do like
dominant
sandwiches.
culture and will be
Yeah.
so for God knows how long in this fucking country. But like when people can suddenly, you're playing into this. Hey, wait a minute. What about white people? Why am I supposed to apologize for something my great grandfather did?
But that also is a strong point. Like when people are bring that up, and you're like, I won't. I'm not going to fucking apologize. I'm not apologizing for slavery.
I also think it's a straw man that people ask people to, though.
Yeah.
Because I've literally never rolled up on anybody,
Never
even
really-
figuratively,
Yeah.
and asked them to go.
But you know
But
what?
Well, show me some tears, motherfucker.
You know
Yeah.
what? Though it's happening now. It is. Like, it is coming back now where people are bringing it up, and it's that same exact far left.
The
Like,
people
that is a weird
you know who
word,
should
right?
Right,
the people who should apologize for slavery are the people who still want their Confederate monuments up.
Yeah.
But that is tearing down the monuments symbolizes an apology for which
Yeah.
Right.
someone
right.
who's in 2017 and walking through Walmart.
There are
The reason I said that is people who like you can't make the history argument about monuments and then someone brings up slavery and you go, those were my ancestors. That's not my history.
Right.
Those statues that fought for that are my history, but not
the other
You
part,
have to
yeah.
embrace it all and own it fucking all.
Yeah.
You can't own part of it and want to embrace the statues and not the fucking atrocity attached
Well,
to
the
it.
other part about that, too, is there are still people that are incredibly wealthy because of slavery. Like, slavery still is the reason there are thousands and thousands of people in this country, probably maybe even more, are fucking rich.
On both sides of the Mason-Dixon line, if you
On
really want
both
to go.
sides. On both sides.
Oh, but like seriously, if we think about slavery building, this country built on the back, so obviously longer.
I hate
in
to
the
be that
South.
guy, but like, our country's built on genocide of the First Nation people. Like, it is. Like,
Well, no, but that's the funny thing. It reminds me of that Richard Pryor bit. Richard Pryor was like, some black conservative goes, "Well, why don't they erect a statue of the why don't they never give us credit? We fought the Indians with the Buffalo Soldiers. We fought the Indians. Like, you ain't got enough problems. Nigga. You want the Indians to hate us too? Like that shit is hilarious because there's all these people popping up with all these different
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Crazy times.
Read some comms.
Let's get to some comments. This has been a great episode.
We can't see them, by the way. We don't have access
Well,
to
I
those.
just have them here. I'll read them and then.
Oh, so when you say "let us," you mean
Let
you?
me.
Let
Yeah.
you.
Well, I'll read them. Everyone else can respond if you want.
Story time.
Hey, what?
What?
It's a big world out there.
It's huge.
It's easy to feel like the things you say don't even matter.
You matter.
And I want you to know that's not true.
It's a little true.
We call this segment Your Voice Matters, where we read your stupid fucking comments from the past few shows and respond to them personally. Oh, fade it out, Brett.
Brett, you gotta fade it out, baby.
God damn.
God damn, what a rush.
Oh, that was fun. Let's read some comments. I pulled these up from these first few are from Patreon. Whitney Davis says, we're about to talk a lot about healthcare. Everyone buckle up. I hope you crammed because that's what last episode was about.
Oh shit.
Whitney Davis says, you guys didn't really talk about how the Chump and crew widened pre-existing conditions to include so many things that even healthy people could be denied or massively overcharged for care because of common treatable illnesses. Yeah, we didn't. Sorry.
Sorry, Whit.
Yeah, Jesus.
I noticed that you avoided that. I was a little disappointed. So I'm with you. Preaching to the choir.
We've been raked over the coals on Twitter about it. That's fine.
You know what? I lost my job because of that.
They doxed me.
Hot dogs.
I got doxxed over it. Yeah.
Hot doxed.
Hot dog on a stick. Hot dogs. Hot dogs. All Greer has done.
shit.
All Greer has
Hot
done
dogs.
is win this whole podcast. He's won. Winning.
This is your Rocky 4. That's what it is.
Hot
Rocky
dogs.
3.
That guy got hot dogs. Hot dogs in Berkeley. An
dogs.
autobiography.
Yep. I just made that kid $1 million.
Taylor Lausen, also from Patreon, says, I lost my health insurance when I was 12 because I got kicked in the stomach by a horse and wound up with permanent kidney damage. Went 8 years without insurance and it was hell. particularly with bad kidneys. Yeah, I bet that would make
That would suck,
no health
for real.
insurance worse. Try writhing on your floor, pissing yourself while going into partial kidney failure, willing to die over calling an ambulance because you can't afford it. Obamacare may not be perfect, but it made a huge difference for me, at least. I was able to afford preventative care, so now I very rarely have kidney issues. I was also able to go on my psych meds to get my mental health in check enough to get a decent job and move into my own place.
So you can stop picking fights with horses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that's
you need
the-
those meds for.
Look, that's
Yeah.
really the elephant in the room. Horses not as nice as everyone thinks, with the
Yeah.
bows and ribbons in their hair
Yeah.
and their
Stop trying to
tail.
paint horses as the aggressors here.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's
clearly
why
your
I wanna-
health issues in the.
Well,
yeah.
that's why I want half of those monuments down. They just have horses prominently. These guys are sitting on horses. They're trotting on horses, walking beside horses.
Yeah, I think Hampton Yount the other day tweeted that we should just leave up the horses because they're probably all good boys and girls. Like they didn't. They're the really innocent ones. It's
but
not-
did you hear the legend about Robert E. Lee's horse was named some bullshit?
was he super racist?
His horse would not let a black person ride it, as per the legend. The fact that that is even a legend.
Bad boy.
I mean, to be fair, I've met
Naughty horse.
I've met a lot of racist dogs. And
are.
Yeah, I mean,
seven
right,
dogs.
right.
Pets take on the personality of their owner.
Well,
though.
there's also the nuance of not understanding skin color, of not getting it because you're a fucking dog.
Well, no, that's what I'm
And
saying.
then
They
horses.
take on, like, Bill Burr has that really great bit about how if you're just walking your dog and you get like really worked up, your dog's gonna be like, what the fuck is it?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
that guy?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it that guy?
Yep.
And that's like if you're a genuine racist and a black person walks in and you're like, ugh, your dog's gonna be like, what are we doing? I
Yep.
bet it's him. He's the only other person here.
Are we ready to rock?
There are
Are we
yes,
ready to
yeah.
rock?
No, I think
are
more
racist
often than
dogs.
not, it's actually just racist dogs.
But
Like
this-
dogs are uncomfortable. Like, no, why are you laughing like that's not a thing? Like,
It's a thing.
like if a dog is all around white
Little
people,
Yorkie with a hood on.
how have you not met genuine racist dogs?
I've definitely met little dogs that have like a burning dog bone cross or something. I get what you're saying. No, but I definitely have run into dogs that seem to be uncomfortable with me. But then their owners always do this classic. Well, he doesn't like big guys.
My immediate thing, if I had a dog and it was racist, I'd be like, steer clear of the dog. That dog's racist as fuck.
Yeah, I got a racist one. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know. We've been training him.
I'm sorry.
You enabled the racism of these canines.
Like, I am sorry,
By the way,
but my dog's a piece of shit.
pretty heartbreaking story about the horse kick.
Oh yeah,
Thanks
sorry
for the
about the horse
comment.
kick. By
Yeah,
the
it's
way,
like
Taylor.
Johnny Cash with the
What were you doing when
ostrich.
you were 12?
Thank you for subscribing.
You're 12. You were probably pulling on the horse's tail.
Yeah.
And the horse is like,
victim
"Fuck off."
blame.
blame.
Don't victim
Victim blaming.
You don't know the whole story, is what I'm saying.
This horse was an asshole. The horse has always been
See,
an asshole.
you're crucifying the horse. You don't know what the horse
They
did.
are gigantic animals. That horse kicked him in the stomach and it hit his kidney.
Have you not seen the zoo
badass.
doc?
That's
By the way,
badass.
horses aren't kicking forward. All right, this kid was doing something. You can't milk a horse. What was that kid doing behind the fucking? What was
Have
going
you
on
ever
behind
seen
that
that
horse?
zoo documentary where the
comment
horse
again.
fucks the guy
You
to death?
ask me. You literally ask me about the horse documentary
Until you
every
watch it.
episode. I'm not going to watch the horse fucking documentary.
Fucking horses.
Literally.
Literally. Fucking horses.
Let's. This is from SoundCloud. This is from the previous episode, which was called Iraq Revisited.
Oh, that was great with Cam Tillman.
Yeah, with Cam
Great episode.
Tillman, Iraq war vet. Really good episode. Except Beaker says this could have been one of your best episodes, but you guys just kept interrupting the veteran whenever he was trying to tell his story. Seriously, every single sentence he's getting interrupted. I disagree. We heard a lot of stories from Cam. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Also, we call that civilian splaining.
Yeah.
Where we actually have to interrupt him to explain to him what's going on.
Yeah. We have to tell him how the military
Have you never
works.
listened to this show? by
Yeah,
the way?
we interrupt everyone
When we
all
have
the time.
jokes, we have to get them in, or else they become stale.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget shit.
Jokes
If I
go
don't-
bad. Jokes go bad.
Well, like a joke, if you have to wait 20 seconds before
Yeah,
somebody
it's
finishes
like, hey,
their
that thing we were
long-winded-
just talking about.
Remember that thing before? Well, here's what I was going to say. and It's going to be really good.
Imagine if Ed Greer had held off on that hot doxed joke.
Right?
It would have
Yeah,
been lost for all eternity.
All eternity.
And here's what I think a lot of people don't get. Us talking over each other sometimes is why our podcast isn't boring.
Right?
Like, go listen to most top 50 comedy podcasts, and it's people being really respectfully each other and letting everyone finish their thoughts, and it's boring and dry. And fuck that. Be funny on your podcast, God damn it.
Someone speaking for more than 10 to 15 seconds at one time, people fucking tune right out.
Yeah, it can get tense.
Keep it spicy.
Keep it hot.
Raquel gets mad at me because sometimes she'll go on a tangent and I'll like drop a joke in there and she's like, I was talking. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we're trained to go for the joke.
I'm aware.
Like a lot of times,
Yeah.
I will say this. A lot of times women, a lot of times people, but a lot of times women.
Oh, go on.
Yeah. A lot of times women will leave that pregnant pause for you to just jam that joke right up in that son bitch. And they're just like, I was on my way to something. It's like, I was on my way to a point. It's like, dude, win. Like for real, win.
So, hey, I hear you're trying to be sexist. You need some help with that? Have you tried interrupting during a pause? Oh, Clippy. What are you doing here?
Let's read one last comment from SoundCloud. Young Stepdaddy.
Oh, that's a dope name.
Yeah, that's a really great name.
Is that a rapper name or a lifestyle?
I don't know.
Daddy.
Probably both.
It sounds like a new dad trying to endear himself to a teenager. Like,
Hey, man, I'm not
listen,
trying to be your
I
dad.
wrote something, young stepdaddy, and I'm here to say, like, I love my new dad. He did a rap for me.
I fuck your mother every day. See, I wish I had interrupted you at the end of that, so I could have actually gone straight through with the flow, but I actually let you finish.
That was your mistake.
The joke was less important. Yeah.
It hit softer because
Yeah.
of that. God damn.
Yeah.
If you had done it in time.
I got 80%. There's a law of diminishing returns on the time of
Young Stepdaddy. He could be talking about this episode. Says, this was crazy interesting, guys. Jeff was a sassy bitch, as always. Smiley face. Much love and respect.
Well, there was this. What was the thing where he said something about how it was something about Iraq and it made him really sad, and I just went, why?
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like I listened to it again. I was like, that was good. That was a good drop.
Yeah, that was
like
funny. So what do we have to plug? There's a show tonight, Unpops, in Glendale at the Alex Theater.
What?
7:30 p.m. Well, it's August 23rd, depending on when there's not a show every night you're listening to this, depending on when you listen to it. But August 23rd, come out, Alex Theater in Glendale. Show starts at 8, doors open at 7:30.
I'm excited about it.
It's free. You can reserve a spot on Eventbrite, search for Unpops. I'm excited too.
This theater is fucking dope.
It's a really cool space. There's going to be drinks. There's food there, I think. We're going to be selling shirts.
I do like food.
And then there's also going to be me and Jeff and Quincy Johnson, all your Unpops faves. Caitlin Cutt.
Leah Kajanian.
Mo Mandel.
Mo Mandel. And we're going to have a special surprise drop-in at every show, too. So we've already booked that for this one. So that'll be fun.
All right.
And subscribe to the rest of our podcasts on Patreon, patreon.com/unpops. What's everyone else got?
Mint on Card is the second Friday of every month at Blast from the Past in beautiful Magnolia and Burbank. We start at 7:30 is when the show starts. Doors open at 7. It's such a dope show. You got to come out to it. Also, this weekend, come out to Comic-Con Palm Springs. Run into me. Tell me how great I am. It's going to be awesome. That's it.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay. Ed, what do you got?
Yeah, at Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter, at Ed Greer Destroys on Instagram, where I put up a lot of my art, and at Ed Greer Destroys on DeviantArt, where I put up a lot of my other art. So, because I want people to know that I draw. I'm gonna start doing some revolutionary ass comics, baby. And I'm gonna also be at the Palm Springs Comic Con. I'm doing Sketch Fighter.
I'm doing Sketch
with
Fighter.
Tom Frank and me and my girl Clee Wiggins. We're gonna be on there together. Hopefully not on the
Nice.
same team.
Shout out to
No,
Clee. She has been on Unpops before, too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and just check out those two sources. Oh, and also Nerd Goat podcast. It's
Nice.
It's my
Edit that
podcast
out, Brett.
with Ron Swallow. Basically, what we do is we have somebody on, and they explain to us why somebody is their favorite character of all time, their greatest of all time, their
Yeah.
Nerd Goat.
You can listen to me talk about. Is my episode up? It's up.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
You talked about James Bond.
James Bond.
So yeah, and it's really diverse as to the stuff that people want to talk about. We had a guy talk about Dream, like fucking Morpheus, the god of Dream, or whatever. Sandman. We had a dude talking about Sandman. We got a dude talking about the Joker as his nerd greatest of all time character, the fucking Joker. I'm looking forward to that one. There we had somebody do Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. And
like
people
that.
have all these.
I like
people
that.
have deep cut choices, and they also have James Bond. They also have Sherlock Holmes. Stuff like that.
Which Raiders fan chose the Punisher as their favorite character?
I love that joke.
Dan, what do you got to plug?
I'm at Vaguely Funny Dan on the Twitter machine. The Disney show I'm writing is called Walk the Prank. It's on Disney XD. It's really cool. A writing partner of mine, Trevor Moore, co-created it. Trevor Moore from the
Whitest Kids You Know.
Yeah.
That dude's like 6'9", right?
Yeah.
He's like the tallest dude I've ever seen.
Yeah. He's having a baby tonight. It's very exciting for Trevor.
That's exciting for humanity.
He just took off. No, he's a brilliant guy, and he walked into all the things. If you watch The Whitest Kids You Know, it ain't a Disney show.
Yeah.
But he walked in and set this thing up at Disney, and we're pretty proud of it. Again, Walk the Prank. There's a lot of it on YouTube as well, and it's I tell you. So not just if you, the pranks are pretty impressive, even if you're not a kid. The stuff we pull off, it's half scripted.
Yeah.
And then the kids are going through the normal middle school shit, and then something gives them an idea, and it's like, I got an idea for a prank. And then it goes to these actual
Kid
hidden
pulls out a
camera
gun.
fucking pranks. Right. But actual hidden camera pranks that we have ridiculous budgets for. I'm talking like 50-foot flying saucers smashing into guest houses and shit.
Damn.
With hidden
Jeez.
cameras, so the kids are pranking grown-ups. So obviously kids are loving it because you want to fucking see. What do you want to see if you're a kid? Kids making a fool out of grown-ups. And that's
awesome.
basically what the show is.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. So there's that, and there's other shit coming down the pipe, and I'll blab about it on Twitter. So at Vaguely Funny Dan.
Nice.
Find me there.
You got a new follow right now.
Yeah.
I've been following Vaguely Funny Dan since before I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I followed you before I met you too. We probably met at a Drive-By Truckers concert. Jason Isbell,
I think we
something
did.
like that.
I think I'd seen you at the West
saw
Side
you at a-
Comedy at some point,
Oh yeah,
and then I saw you at Isbell
yeah, at the show at the Roxy.
at the Roxy.
And then I just saw you the other night at a Patterson Hood show,
At a
also a
Patterson
Drive-By
Hood show.
Truckers affiliate.
Wow.
A very politically charged Patterson Hood show.
Yeah, it
with
was
all the
very
Charlottesville
political.
shit happening.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So
All
what
right.
did we decide? We just take out the newest monuments first and then work your way back.
Yeah,
but not
or
till
just-
after the next presidential election.
Yeah, I don't think we figured it out.
No, we didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Nor they're not going to listen to us anymore.
We'll just tell people we did in the title so they listen. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Dan, say goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
Ed Greer, say goodbye.
See you later, buddies.
Jeff May, say goodbye.
You get the horse that kicked that dude rookie card.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you.